Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gather around your YouTube screens because you've tuned into Black's Movie Recaps. I'm your host, old Nicholas Black, and tonight, I'm gonna need you to hold on to your fedoras and cloche hats because we're pulling out all the stops with the 1936 spectacle, called Reefer Madness. A classic in the annals of unintentional comedy. Reefer Madness, the film that warned America about the terrifying, soul-corrupting dangers of marijuana, or marijuana as the filmmakers quaintly misspelled it, because accuracy is clearly secondary to melodrama. For this classic bit of fun, we begin in an auditorium, where the beacon of reason and calm, a high school principal, alerts the populace to the perils of this devilish weed. Because nothing screams, I am an expert, like a stodgy educator warning against existential threats.
You and all other school parent groups about the country, and you must stand united on this and stamp out this frightful assassin of our youth. You can do it by bringing about compulsory education on the subject of narcotics in general, but dread marijuana in particular. That is the purpose of this meeting, ladies and gentlemen, to lay the foundation for a nationwide campaign by you to demand by law such compulsory education. Because it is only through enlightenment that this scourge can be wiped out.
Just look at him go, throwing caution to the wind as if he's announcing the second coming of the locusts. Then, oh dear listeners, we meet our protagonists, Jimmy and Mary. Cleaner than a brand new pair of spats, but alas, their innocence is short-lived. Unlike their dancing, which will return to haunt my nightmare.
Hey, he ain't no paper man.
Why, don't you know him? That hot finger curly.
Boy, he really swings out hot with a message jive. You want to dance?
George!
Sweet Lord, Mary, relax those shoulders. Along comes Jack, the malevolent maestro of marijuana, luring these two lambs straight into the wolf's den.
Why can't we go now?
Good. Hey, kids, we're having a little party up at my girlfriend's apartment. Wouldn't you like to come? Oh, I'd love to. You want to come, don't you, Jimmy?
Oh, sure. Any place with you.
Well, come along. We can all go in my car.
But beware, the marijuana doesn't just turn these kids into petty criminals, it makes them jittery jazz aficionados too. Yes, folks, marijuana apparently can turn anyone into a manic Jerry Lee Lewis. Look at those fingers fly across the piano keys. It's as if Beethoven himself came back from the grave, ate a jazz record, and decided to go absolutely bonkers. And of course, the pièce de résistance, a courtroom drama filled with more ham than a deli counter. Ah, the age-old battle between justice and, well, overacting. Who needs evidence when you've got sensationalism?
Your Honor, I'd like to recall Dr. Alfred Carroll to the stand. Call Dr. Alfred Carroll to the stand. Dr. Carroll, as principal of the Lakeside High School, did you, during the last 3 months, notice any changes in the demeanor and attitude of your student, William Hopper? Yes, in a number of things. For example, at times disassociation of ideas. You, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have a duty to perform. A duty to yourselves and to our community. Mary Lane is dead. The evidence you've heard at this trial could not have failed to convince you of the guilt of the defendant. By his own admission, he pressed the trigger of the weapon that sent lovely and innocent Mary Lane to a tragic and untimely death. We are not so much concerned about the motives behind the deed as to the deed itself. While the defendant has told you that he saw someone attacking Mary Lane, and that his mind went blank from that moment on, the defense has been unable to produce one witness to substantiate that statement. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard able men testify at this trial, men who have tried to bring out the fact that the defendant might have become momentarily insane when he fired the shot that killed Mary Lane. But the defense has been unable to prove that he was insane. William Hopper was sane when he visited the apartment where the tragedy occurred. He was in the habit of visiting the place. He was sane when he went into a bedroom with another young woman. You've all heard what went on in that room. You heard it from the defendant's own lips. Involved as he was in a tawdry love affair, Mary Lane was in the way. She had found him out. In a moment of anger, he deliberately and willfully killed her. If such deeds are permitted to go unpunished, this community would cease to be a decent and safe place for us or our children to live. I do not believe I have to plead or even demand that you bring in a verdict to punish the defendant for the crime that he has committed against society. You are upright citizens. That is why you were chosen to judge another. And as honest, upright citizens, there is only one verdict which you can find, and that is a verdict of guilt.
So, what's the moral of this celluloid sermon? Don't smoke the reefer unless you're looking for a career in avant-garde jazz, to play a murderer in Law and Order, or go into a career in melodramatic jurisprudence. Well, folks, that about wraps it up. If you've enjoyed this romp through cinematic absurdity as much as I have, go ahead and hit that like button, like it's going out of style. And don't forget, comment below. What film should I tip my hat to or skewer next? Until we meet again, this is your host, Nicholas Black, saying, stay classy, stay sassy, and whatever you do, steer clear of those jazz cigarettes. Toodaloo.